Fucking tapes? Of what? Fuck you, prove it. I got boxes of tapes, evidence, other documents proving it. Just fucking kill me. I am killing you.
Okay, before we get into this, I want to say that I'm not going to answer questions in the comments anymore. It's not a place for a subject so complicated, and anyone asking ridiculously complicated questions in the comments is simply lazy, or they're looking to jam up the discussion or misquote people. And I could never answer 99% of these questions in a single YouTube reply. It's far too complicated. Not only that, but it also runs the risk of being oversimplified or twisted by that person or operator asking. And there are videos on this channel that explain just about any question a person could ask. So if you are truly interested, then you don't need me to spoon feed you answers. You know, many truths sound unbelievable on the surface. It's only after diving deeper into that subject that one can understand the mechanics and the details of something. And no one can research for you. This research must be done by the individual. It's impossible to explain something extremely complicated in a paragraph or even 10. So in short, I'm not going to answer complicated questions in the comment section. Don't bother. Going down all these rabbit holes can seem like folly, but it must be done, and it must be done in a sane and rational manner, because it's the surface insanity of this technology that keeps it hidden from the public at large. The average person has a hard time understanding why any organization would do this to the population. Yet, the reality that all organizations and individuals seek more power and more control is a simple fact, making the person who refuses to acknowledge the motive behind this technology the info patsy. One of the first steps in understanding all this is understanding that the organizations in control do not think like you do. They never have, and they never will. They are the same people who believe the planet is overpopulated, and also the same overpopulationists who tell you that they want to save your life all the time.
Former colleague, Dr. Elliot Emanuel.
He was an authoritarian, ruthless, power-hungry, nervous, tense, angry man. Not very nice.
Project MK Ultra is misunderstood a lot. The average person would never get involved with a program like MK Ultra, and it takes a population like this to keep something as ugly as MK Ultra hidden. It relies on your naive disbelief that anyone could ever do something like that, yet it is well documented and has been admitted since the 1970s. The most important technique in MK Ultra was called psychic driving, and that is the technique that has remained a staple in mind manipulation techniques throughout the years. Psychic driving is the technique of repeating messages over and over in the ear of a sleeping subject in order to create false memories, manipulate dreams and consciousness, attack the consciousness with artificial ideas or thoughts, and a myriad of other objectives. This technique was originally part of MK Ultra.
First, what he called depatterning. So that's phase one, is wiping the slate clean. Second was trying to program in new patterns of behavior by playing tape-recorded messages hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times.
Individual taped messages were repeated to sleeping patients 15 hours a day in an effort to brainwash them back to health. Dr. Cameron called his technique psychic driving. Bob Logie had driving therapy.
I was there for a while, and I thought, I don't want to stay here, and I started to run away from the hospital, and they grabbed me, and then they put me on sleep treatment, playing tapes just over and over. I don't know what was on the tapes yet, but we're going to find out what was on the tapes through hypnosis.
The CIA was interested in Dr. Cameron's work on psychic driving because it could give them an idea of where the personality could break or be stressed.
Those of us who were involved with trying to find out something about brainwashing, yes, this is the reason that we were interested in Dr. Cameron's work.
The sleep therapy was highly experimental.
And my husband, that's when he told me he thought they were killing me, because he said it was every day, and there's a special treatment which he doesn't know. I was always asleep.
I went through years and years and years of severe depressions. I dream about it. All my waking hours, I think about it. It's eating me up. It really is.
And contrary to true believers' beliefs, MKUltra never stopped. It was merely privatized to avoid Freedom of Information Act requests. And after spending years investigating this subject, I am confident in saying that the techniques practiced during MKUltra were not perfected so some subject could be brainwashed or altered while wearing a helmet or wearing headphones. Rather, this was all perfected so that it could be put into use the moment that these signals could affect human beings wirelessly. And that time came and went long ago. And it's now part of a long-distance apparatus that can affect sleeping human beings every single night, attack subjects while they're awake, create artificial hauntings, create artificial possessions, create artificial mental illness, cause people to commit crimes, create Manchurians. And we are not talking about one or two subjects. We are talking about a network that is capable of interacting with entire sleeping populations or awake populations. But this isn't the same psychic driving as it was in the beginning, which is why I now refer to this as psychic entrainment. And it is important to remember that the word psychic simply means of the mind. It has evolved beyond just repetition. Psychic driving consisted of repeating messages to someone who was being forced to sleep for days, weeks, or months. This was only done to speed up the process. What I call psychic entrainment, on the other hand, repeats messages to sleeping populations every single night. Whether the person sleeps for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, or 12 hours, they are being bombarded with messages the entire night, every night, and it doesn't stop. Imagine the power of advertising something like McDonald's or Pizza Hut. That would be powerful stuff. However, these messages are always negative or sexual in nature, and the goal is to control urges, opinions, behavior, attractions, etc., even going so far as poisoning or dissolving relationships with negative thoughts or ideas, or creating relationships by injecting ideas throughout the night. For example, a male voice may argue with a wife every single night, and even though she may not completely remember this, she takes away the negativity. Much of the evidence verifies arguments being created. For example, a voice may speak out about the subject's spouse or significant other, accusing them of cheating, or the voices will call the person stupid over and over. I've heard that many times. And they are admitting to this. That is one of their goals. You can read about their motives online, and they are talking about how they have successfully broke into dreams and interrogated people and talked to them. It is something that they have been trying to perfect for decades and decades, and they are there now. Many people have claimed similar things in the past, but no one else can clearly and confidently prove their claims. In this video, I'm going to prove the use of mass psychic entrainment, and I will also show you an example of modern psychic driving and show you exactly how this has evolved since the original MKUltra days. On May 24th, 2023, after over a decade of working with this audio, I finished methods to clearly record these audio signals. Since then, I've done many tests, and a few of these tests have been done in the middle of the night between 2 and 5 a.m. during normal sleeping hours. During these tests, I have picked up 5 different examples of psychic entrainment. But how does this differ from psychic driving? Well, we need to ask the question, what is entrainment? Entrainment means to sync 2 or more things together to the same beat. Music can be a form of entrainment. Brainwave entrainment is another example. You are simply syncing something or someone to a BPM. Like music, audio entrainment is reality, as well as audio samples being timed and synchronized to a human heartbeat or breathing pattern. That is another form of entrainment. That's about as far as we can get into this aspect in this video. So if you don't understand, the search is your friend. There are lots of videos on this channel alone. Psychic driving consisted of repeating the same exact message over and over. An old example of this would be, "You killed your mother," repeated endlessly. Psychic entrainment, as I call it, repeats endlessly the same way. However, it builds on a few words and continuously changes these affirmations ever so slightly, repeating a single phrase just long enough to add another idea or affirmation to the repetition. For example, let's say there are 3 words in the repeated message. And let's say it starts with, "He is lying." He is lying. It repeats this. Then it changes quickly. "She is lying." she is lying. Then she is crying. She is crying. Then she is gone. She is gone. She's been gone. Each word will change slightly. You're going to see this. You're going to hear this. So hang around. We'll get into that and you will hear it for yourself. When a sleeping person in lower hertz brainwaves picks this up, it doesn't matter if they hear every word, because either way, it has already hijacked their natural sleep and dream process. Once a person is entrained to this, or once the audio is being entrained to the vitals and or breathing pattern of a person, you can keep them out of much needed REM sleep, disrupt their sleep cycle, influence dreams with this audio, and much more. For the sake of time, we'll leave it at that. So let's take a look at one of these psychic entrainment examples that I recorded. This was recorded on the night of June 1st, 2023. I finished the recording at 3:01 a.m. The audio signal starts off very quiet, then progressively gets louder and louder, and the repeated phrases evolve and morph into different messages. There were people sleeping within the home, and I was simply testing my new recording method and seeing what could be picked up. This is not the first, second, third, or even 20th time I've recorded this in the past. The only difference is in the clarity of the voice. Also, something noteworthy about these late night tests is that you can still hear the more quiet, less discernible voices in the background through the recordings. Just like my old work, the difference is that the closest voice out of the thousands in the air is boosted up to a completely separate level than the others. It is being picked up and amplified, singled out. So ladies and gentlemen, this is psychic entrainment. Okay, before we get to the main clip, let me show you that they are always negative. These are pulsed communications, pulsed audio waves. In this clip, a voice comes in and says, "They need you to fear.
They need you to fear.
They need you to fear.
They need you to fear."
Lots of talk about babies being recorded lately. In this clip, the voice comes in and says, "The baby's dead.
The baby's dead. The baby's dead."
Here is another clip that I caught in one of the first tests, and it says, "You killed my wife," which is very similar to the psychic driving phrase, "You killed your mother." So it's always negative, some form. Now I'm going to boost this up to listen to it, but this is the original file, and what you're going to notice is these quietly come in here and build and build and build. And by here you see that there are three things being repeated over and over and over. I have 5 different examples of this coming in and fading back out. This is one of those examples. So in the beginning, I began to record. You are going to hear a quiet room, and then the system will chatter. You will hear this random chatter come in, not making a whole lot of sense. Let's check it out. It's quiet. So there's random chatter and then quiet, and then there's a little bit more chatter before the repetition begins. Here is another piece of that. And it says the time something. That'll come in later. Then there's another phrase after that.
The time, Raymond.
The time something.
The time, Raymond.
And then this is where the repetition begins.
The baby baby.
Now listen, 3 phrases are going to continuously morph and evolve the entire time it is being picked up. This is the very beginning of those phrases.
The baby baby. The time. The baby dead. Baby dead.
Sounds like the baby's dead.
The baby dead. The time.
The time. Now, here's where it repeats it again.
The baby should be dead.
Now that's when it changes. The first one was this.
Baby dead.
I told you it morphs and it evolves. This is how it morphs this time.
But we should be there. The time.
The time. One word will get clearer while the other becomes less discernible. Then this happens again. This repeats and repeats and repeats, with 4.3 seconds about in between each one.
But we should be there.
The bishop be something.
But we should be there. The time.
The time. So the time is clear right now.
The time. The time. The time.
There are 3 different ones. Now, it's going to start to morph. Let's check it out.
But we should be there.
That's morphing and evolving.
The time.
The time. Now the time is starting to garble. Pay attention here.
But we should be there. The time.
4.3
But we
seconds.
should be there. The time.
Now this is going to evolve and morph into saying something completely different. Listen.
But we should be there. The time.
And you can hear those voices in the background too.
But we should be there. The time.
It's not the time anymore.
The time. The time. The time.
Here's the old one.
The time.
Now here's the new one.
The time. The time.
This sign, it's different. It's changing. Listen. As it warps, it turns into a different word.
That he should be there. The time. That he should be there. The time. That he should be there. The time.
Now it's not the time at all.
The time. The time. The time.
That was in between. Now it's changed to this.
The time. The time.
It has added a syllable.
The time.
There's the time. There's the new one.
The time. The time. The time. The time. That he should be there. The time.
Now that's changing.
The time.
I've seen him.
The time.
Now that is going to get clearer and clearer.
That he should be there. The time.
I've seen him. So it went from the time and morphed and changed into different words, and now it's I've seen him.
But he should be there. I've seen him.
I've seen him. It has changed from the time to I've seen him.
I've seen him. I've seen him.
So let's keep going. This is modern psychic driving. Psychic entrainment.
That he should be there. Punjab.
Sounds like Punjab. Now pay attention to that part, because that's going to morph into something very interesting.
Punjab. I've seen him.
I've seen him. It's all continuously morphing and changing, slowly, so you catch each phrase a few times.
That he should be there. Punjab.
For the jab.
Punjab. Punjab. I've seen him.
I've seen him.
But he should be there. Punjab.
For the jab. It says it again, clearly. Then it's going to start to morph.
I've seen him.
I've seen him.
I've seen him. Punjab. I've seen him.
Now there are more syllables added. Remember that used to just say the time,
I've seen him. I've seen him.
which was 2 syllables. I've seen him is now 3 syllables. It's adding a syllable.
Punjab.
But he should be there.
But he should be there. Punjab.
Now it's not the jab anymore.
Punjab. Punjab.
It's something the town.
Punjab. I've seen him.
Now that seen him is going to start morphing into cheated. Are you understanding how this is working?
But he should be there. Punjab. I've seen him.
I cheat him. See, it starts to change and morph. The message is always evolving. This is psychic entrainment.
But he should be there. Punjab. 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 I've seen him. But he should be there. Punjab.
Lock the door.
Punjab.
Now let's slow that down for a second. Here it is slowed down.
Punjab.
Lock the door.
Punjab. Punjab. Punjab.
It's always negative or can be construed negative. If you're sleeping and you hear lock the door, you are going to take that negatively. Anybody who heard this, if they were awake, would take it negatively. And it continues to morph.
Dr. Joe. They cheat him.
Lock the door. I cheat him.
They cheat him. But he should be there. Dr. Joe. They cheat him.
The second word is now starting to morph and change.
Dr. Dema. Dr. Dema. Dr. Dema. But he should be there. Dr. Dema.
Again, this was from March 1st, and I finished this recording at 3:01 a.m.
But he should be there. Dr. Dema.
Now it's adding a syllable.
Dr. Dema. Dr. Dema. They cheat him.
That begins to sound more aggressive and menacing in the tone. Check that out.
I cheat him. I cheat him. I cheat him. But they should be there. Hurt you in there. Hurt you in there. Hurt you in there. I cheat him. But they should be there. Hurt you in there. But.
And there are voices behind it. They're just not as loud. It's grabbing the closest one and it is amplifying it. That is what the SWAT rat does. So let's pull this out and look at the repetition. This is psychic entrainment. Totally changing.
But they should be there. Right you know. I cheat him.
So you can understand now what I was saying earlier about how each phrase will slowly evolve throughout the recording and turn into something else. Now, there are other voices going on, but these come in at certain times of the night, and you can pick it up just repeating these phrases over and over and over. And I am not special. I have to say this. Where I recorded is not special. My house is not special. This can be recorded anywhere. I have picked this up anywhere and everywhere. This is a weaponized surveillance system. So this system is just repeating, coming in and repeating these things throughout the night. And interestingly enough, it mentions the jab. I'm going back to one of the earlier ones.
But it should be there.
Should have been there.
Should be there. Should be there.
For the jab.
For the jab. I've seen him.
I've seen him. It's amazing how this morphs and evolves. But let's isolate that right here. Now this voice comes in. I've slowed this down so that we can kind of analyze what it is saying slower.
But he should be there. But he should be there.
Wish you'd been there, but it says for the jab.
For the jab. For the jab. For the jab. I've seen him.
I've seen him.
I've seen him.
So it's repeating these phrases, these strange phrases over and over. And that is psychic entrainment. And here is your proof. I'm going to keep this short and I'm going to leave you with this. Here's the only question you need to hear to wrap your head around all of this. If this doesn't work, then why have I been picking up this audio in the ether for all these years? If it doesn't work, why is it there? What is it doing? This is a mechanical audio signal. What is it doing here? Ask yourself that. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Oh, man. I like this kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.